I'm Valerie, and I'm just curious, how many of you have been hypnotized before? Oh, so what was your experience?
Great. I got my license. I mean, I'm not licensed. You don't have a license.
Oh.
But I'm new at it.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
okay.
very new.
So you'll like this talk tonight.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. And how about you?
It was a long time ago, and I think it was to stop smoking.
Yes.
Smoking.
Okay. Did it work?
We're going back like 30 years now. It took a couple
Yeah.
tries.
Yeah, and you're a non-smoker now?
Oh yeah, been a long, yes. long
Okay,
time.
great. And Susan?
I was your patient once.
Oh, were you? And what was your experience?
It was awesome. I felt like I came out of there after taking a 9-month nap.
And did anybody else raise their hand? What was your experience?
Arizona State Fair, and it didn't work.
Oh, okay, so it was like stage hypnosis.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Were you sent back from the stage? Did they take you up on stage and then you were sent back, or?
Yeah, it just wasn't working, so I went and sat back down.
Okay, we'll talk about that. That's a good example for tonight.
Alright.
So a little bit about me. So I've got a bachelor's in psychology and I have a master's in clinical social work. And unlike what a lot of you might think, a master's in clinical social work is very much like a master's in counseling or a master's in psychology. And I got trained in hypnotherapy way back in graduate school a long time ago, but I didn't really use it as a therapist until later on in my life. And I had quit smoking for about 10 years, and then I had a relapse. And gosh darn it, I could not quit. And I tried everything. I tried everything under the sun, and I felt really bad because at the time I'm working with a lot of people who are addicted to drugs and alcohol. And here I am telling them that they need to be abstinent, and I'm out in the smoking area. And I thought, I've got to do something about this. So I remembered the hypnosis, and I found a specialist, somebody who specialized in smoking cessation, and I went to see her, and in one session, I was a non-smoker, and that was 16 years ago, and it blew my mind.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I thought, I need to go back to school so I can learn how to do this so I can help other people. So I did, and then I started helping friends, and I opened up a practice, and people started asking me about weight loss. So then I got training in that, so I started helping people with the weight loss. And the hypnosis itself didn't work so well for me, but my clients got great results. And it wasn't until a little bit later that I realized that the hypnotherapist that I was seeing wasn't very good at the weight loss. So I found the best person I could find, and I flew back and forth to California so I could get some help for it. And I also got some cognitive behavioral coaching, which is something that Stephanie was talking about, so I could work on those distorted thoughts that I had about eating. And I'll give you an example of a distorted thought. So a distorted thought would be, I'm following a diet, I'm following it really well, the weight's coming off. I go to somebody's house and they offer me a cookie, and I say, I think I can just have one. So I have one. Oh, that's so good. And then I think, well, now I've blown it. I have blown my diet. Well, I might as well eat whatever I want for the rest of the day, and I'll start again tomorrow. And then tomorrow would come, and I would make an excuse. Well, it's really stressful today. I don't think I can deal with this. I'll wait till Monday, and then Monday would come around, and I'd make another excuse. So I was yo-yo dieting. So anyway, combined with the cognitive behavioral coaching and the hypnotherapy that I was getting flying back and forth to California, that did the trick for me. Then I got training in the CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy, and I combine that now in my practice, working with weight loss clients. So they too have really good results. So even stubborn people like me can lose weight and keep it off. So anyway, I got interested in hypnosis way back in college, and I was taking a sociology class, and there was this professor, and he was about to retire, and he was just trying to have some fun, and he didn't care if he might get fired. He used to hypnotize us in class all the time, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I thought, one day I'm going to learn how to do that. So I did. I learned how to use the hypnotherapy, but I never really got into it until the stop smoking, when I had that specialized training. So I'm just curious, how many of you think that you can't be hypnotized? I know you think you can't, right? You don't think you can. So let's find out if that's true, okay? How many of you have been driving and you get to your destination, and then you think, I don't really remember part of that. I don't remember some of those streets I went by. Has anybody had that experience?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. How about being in a movie, maybe an action flick, and then something happens suddenly, like a bomb goes off, and you just kind of jump a little bit in your seat, and you go, oh, wait a minute, it's just a movie, it's not real. Or maybe you're really caught up with this drama, and then something happens to one of your favorite characters, and you start to tear up, and you think, oh, no, they're not real people. But you have a reaction to it. Has that ever happened?
Mm-hmm.
How about this? You're reading something, and then you go back a page, and you think, I don't remember reading a word of that. Has that ever happened to anybody?
All the time.
Okay, so this is worse. Have you ever been having a conversation with somebody, and they're going on and on and on, and you're thinking, I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner.
Yeah.
And then they say, don't you think so? And you go, uh-huh.
Yeah.
But you don't know what you just agreed
I
to.
know I do.
Now, you don't have to raise your hand on that, but I know you've all done it. All right, so this is a fun one. Have you ever been looking for something, and you know it should be there, but you can't find it? So maybe you're in the fridge, and you're going, there's no ketchup. There's no ketchup. There's no ketchup. And you're looking all over the ketchup, and then the person who's in the house goes, it's right there, right in front of you, and you just didn't see it? Yeah.
That's my husband.
Yeah, that's my husband.
Yeah.
My wife.
It's like right there.
So if you've had any of those experiences, those are what we'd call hypnotic trances. So if you've had any of those experiences, that means you can be hypnotized. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So one of the reasons people never think about hypnotherapy is because of all the myths and misunderstandings. So I always want to clear these up. So one of the myths is that hypnosis is woo-woo. And as you can tell, I'm not wearing a black hat, I'm not wearing a cape, and I didn't ride in on a broomstick tonight. Actually, hypnosis has been approved by the American Medical Association since 1958.
Wow.
Actually, they used to teach it in medical school, and I've met a few retired physicians who told me that they had really good hypnosis training. They just don't teach it anymore because now there are so many things that they have to learn. They just don't have time. And if you think about it, when you go to the doctor's office, the doctor's seeing you like for 10 minutes, you know? He's seeing patients all day long. Doctors aren't going to make any money if they're doing hypnosis with somebody for an hour. Another myth is that it doesn't work. Now, I don't know if you know this, but there have been so many really good studies on this that Blue Cross Blue Shield of California actually covers hypnotherapy for patients who are having heart surgery, because the study showed that if they had hypnotherapy before having the heart surgery and after the heart surgery, that they healed faster. And so they got out of the hospital sooner. So Blue Cross really likes that because it saves them money. And there are a lot of studies that have been published that prove that hypnotherapy works for a lot of different things. Another myth is that you're going to lose control in hypnosis. And I'm wondering if any of you have ever read the news about a hypnotist that hypnotized a client to go rob a bank and bring them all the money and then forget about it. No. So that's never happened, right?
No.
So I want to tell you about a stage show that I went to. I love going to stage shows. I've never been trained in stage hypnosis. That's a whole nother thing. But I love stage shows because they're hysterical. And I was at a training in Las Vegas learning clinical skills, and of course afterwards we all went to a stage show. And so the hypnotist got all the men that were on stage, and he told them, it was about 10 of them, and he said, okay, you're all auditioning for Chippendales, and you really want the part. So I want you to do a really good striptease down to your underwear.
Oh my God.
So of these men, it was hysterical because these are men of all ages, all shapes and sizes. So if you can imagine this, they got the music on and they're taking their shirts on and twirling them around and throwing them off. And of the men that were on stage, 3 of them left their pants on. So what that means
Literally wet their pants?
left their pants on.
Oh,
That would be a
left.
different thing. They kept their pants on. He told them to strip down to their underwear, but they did not do it. So they stopped
Yeah,
at a certain
got it.
point.
Sure.
Because even under hypnosis, you still have control. You can still decide whether or not you're going to follow a suggestion or not. So the other one is that hypnosis is a truth serum. that under hypnosis you're going to reveal dark secrets you don't want anybody to know. And that's a myth too. If I was to ask somebody a question that was none of my business under hypnosis, they would tell me, that's none of your business. You actually can help people to retrieve memories in hypnosis. That's what forensic hypnosis is. So let's say that somebody was a victim of a trauma and maybe they blocked out part of the memory. Under hypnosis, a person might be able to remember more details from the crime scene, like they remember the color of the perpetrator's shirt, or they might remember another number off of the license plate. So it can be very helpful. Another one is that people think they're going to get stuck in hypnosis. Now this is a myth too, and that's because of the movies. If you ever watched like Shallow Hal or Office Space, where they think it's funny to show somebody stuck in hypnosis. That never happens. And I'm sure that you've never seen on the news, anybody who's been stuck in hypnosis that ended up at the ER, right? That has never happened. So you can't get stuck in hypnosis. It's kind of like if you're at home and you're listening to music with headphones on, and then the doorbell rings, you would just take your headphones off and you would answer the door. You wouldn't be stuck in the music, right? And so it's the same thing in hypnotherapy. So if you were in my office and the fire alarm went off, you would simply open up your eyes, we'd go out of the building, and then we'd just resume and we'd come back, but you wouldn't be stuck anywhere. A lot of people think they're going to be hypnotized to the point where they'll forget everything that went on in the session. That never happens. Most people remember everything. And then the last one is that only the weak-willed can be hypnotized. And the truth is that pretty much anybody can be hypnotized as long as they don't have a serious mental illness, like late-stage Alzheimer's or untreated schizophrenia. And children under 5 have a little bit of a hard time with it. The only thing is that you can't be hypnotized unless you want to be hypnotized. So, in fact, I've hypnotized hundreds of people. I've only had one person come in my office I couldn't hypnotize. So this guy, he came in with his wife, and usually during the initial part of the session, I'm explaining what hypnosis is, kind of like this. So I was explaining to her what we were going to be doing, and he came in to support her, but he's sitting there like this the whole time. He said, "Yeah, well, you're not doing that to me. I saw one of those stage shows once, and you're not doing that to me." And you know what? He was right. I wasn't going to be able to hypnotize him because he had made up his mind. But you know what? If his doctor had sent him in, and he had been open, maybe he'd be open to it, but maybe not. So I can't pull somebody off the street and say, "Hey, I'm going to hypnotize you." But if you come in to see me for hypnotherapy, it's because you want to change something, so therefore you're going to be able to do it. So let's talk about what hypnosis is. It's a relaxed, focused state of mind where we're more open to thinking about things in a different way. So if we imagine we have two parts to our mind, we've got the conscious mind and we've got the subconscious mind here. We usually have a wall between the two parts, and that's to protect us. So we can't really talk to the deeper part because of that wall. But when we're relaxed and we're focused, we can kind of let that wall down a little bit. So now we have a way that the conscious mind can talk to the deeper part of your mind, the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is logical, rational, thinks it's in control, and that's where we have our willpower. So right now we're all using our conscious mind. Now what's interesting about that is that usually when we have a problem, we think, you know what, I just need more of that willpower. If I had more of that willpower, then I could change this. I can stop being so nervous about this thing. I can change this bad habit that I have. I'm just going to buckle down and have this willpower. Well, how does that work? It takes a while to change things with the willpower. You can change it, can change things with the willpower. It just takes a lot longer. And some things we really can't change just with willpower. And that's why we see people like lose a bunch of weight and then they gain it all back, or they quit smoking and then they resume smoking. So where the power lies is the subconscious mind. That's the deeper part. It's larger, it's more powerful. And what I want you to remember about this part of the mind is that it wants to protect you. This is key. So we store everything in the subconscious mind. All of our memories are in here. Our emotions are linked to this part of the mind. Our habits are stored in here. So all of our patterns are there. So let's talk about how we learn. How we learn things is that we have to do it over and over and over and over again. And then eventually the subconscious mind says, hey, you know what? I've got the hang of that now. How about I do that for you? So I'm wondering if this morning when you put your shoes on, did you have to get out a little book with pictures in it that showed pictures of how to tie your shoes?
Be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we pick up something to
Yeah.
read,
I didn't want to share that, but.
Yeah. We don't have to relearn how to read every time we wake up the next day. We don't have to have a driving instructor and the manual of how to operate our vehicle every time we get in the car, right? So once we learn things, it becomes a pattern, it gets stored. Thank goodness, because if we didn't have that ability, it would be like that movie Groundhog Day, that we'd wake up every day and we have to relearn everything over again. So it's really good that we have this ability to store these patterns and store these habits, because most of them are good for you. And because most of them are good for you, the subconscious mind likes to hold on to what it's learned. And that's a good thing, because you wouldn't want to, for example, be driving on the 101 and forget how to drive. You wouldn't want to be swimming in the middle of a lake and have your brain undo that swimming habit. So it's very, very hard to change things once it's stored in that part of the mind, because the brain thinks that it's good for you. So let's illustrate how hard it is to change a habit that's been stored. So do you all remember when you learned how to drive? Remember how we had to pay attention to everything that we're doing? And I remember when I was 16 years old, even when I knew how to drive and I was ready to take that driver's test, it wasn't yet a subconscious habit. So I remember that day, taking that test, and I got the guy sitting next to me with a clipboard, he's very intimidating. And I'm thinking, okay, you gotta turn now, turn on your signal. Remember, you gotta look both ways. You gotta stop before that line. But then after a while, we got the hang of it. And so we're so good at it now, we don't even have to be paying attention to the road, and our brain will protect us. So if somebody slams our brakes on in front of us, even if our mind has wandered off and we're thinking about what we're gonna do later, our brain just kicks in, brain sends a signal to our foot, and we hit the brake. Thank goodness, right? It protects us. But let's say, for example, you wanted to change that. Have you ever been a passenger and you do the same thing? Somebody slams the brakes on and you find yourself going on the carpet? Have you ever done that? Mm-hmm. Now that conscious mind, the logical, rational part of your mind, knows perfectly well that hitting your foot on a carpet isn't going to stop anything. But in that moment where the brain senses danger, it's not stopping to figure out whether you're driving or a passenger, it's going to do it just in case. But let's say you didn't want to do that anymore and you said, you know what? I'm setting a quit date, and as of tomorrow, I'm never going to hit my foot on the carpet again. How many of you think you could do that?
Probably not.
So you could do it for a little while. So let's say that you made up your mind and you're with your friend who maybe makes you a little bit nervous, but you don't want to do that. So you're thinking to yourself the whole time, I'm not going to hit my foot on the carpet. You're kind of white-knuckling it. I'm not going to hit my foot on the carpet. And you're really paying attention to it. As long as you're focusing on it consciously, you'll be okay. Let's say you look out the window and you say, oh look, there's a new building going up. I wonder what that's going to be. And then the same thing happens. Your foot's just going to go back, right? So that just illustrates how hard it is for us to change things, even though we want to with our willpower. It's just really, really hard to do that. So, so an example of another thing where the brain's trying to protect you, let's say that you got bit by a dog when you were a little child. And so your brain now wants to protect you, and it associates anything to do with dogs with being dangerous. So you see a dog, you hear a dog bark, and your brain says, get away from the dog. Dogs are dangerous. So even though as an adult, you say, most dogs are nice. Most dogs aren't going to bite me. I'm okay. Your brain doesn't get the message because of that wall. Nothing's getting through to train that brain that it's going to be okay. Same thing with smoking. So the conscious mind can say, I want to quit smoking. Smoking is bad for me. But the subconscious mind, believe it or not, thinks that smoking is good for you. So it's saying, but it helps me relax. But I like having a cup of coffee with a cigarette. These things are better with a cigarette. And so there's a clash between the two parts of your mind. Another thing is the overeating. We talked about that. So you have the conscious mind saying, don't eat that. It's bad for you. And then you've got the subconscious mind, ooh, but it tastes so yummy. And you deserve a treat because you worked hard all day. So I wonder if you play along with the exercise with me. Would you do that? Okay. So I want you to all close your eyes. And I want you just to imagine that you're picking a lemon off of a tree. And you go ahead and take that nice, ripe lemon, you bring it home, you get out a cutting board, your favorite knife, and you carefully slice that lemon right in the middle. And just notice the juice is flowing down. Maybe you can start to smell that lemon scent. You slice it a few more times into little wedges. Then you pick up one of those lemon wedges. You lift it to your nose, and you smell it. You can smell that lemon scent. And now I want you to pop it in your mouth and bite right down into it. And all those juices flow in your mouth. And now open your mouth. Open your eyes. How many of you noticed that you salivated a little bit?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? So that shows you the power of your mind. There's no lemon in this room, but yet the mind, in just a few seconds, remembers what a lemon's like, and you had a physical response to it. It's pretty cool. How about another exercise? This one we have to stand up for. You willing? Okay. Maybe it's time to wake up a little bit anyway, right? So I want you to give yourself enough room that you can hold your arms out like this in front of you. So like Frankenstein. All right. And I want you to close your eyes, and we're just going to play a pretend game. Okay, and I want you to imagine in your left hand that you're gripping a bucket, a big bucket. Imagine you're holding that bucket in your left hand. All right. And on your right wrist, I want you to imagine I'm tying a helium balloon. Now I want you to imagine in that bucket that you're holding in your left hand that I'm dumping some wet, heavy cement. And it's starting to get heavier. Now I want you to imagine I'm tying a big bunch of beautiful helium balloons to your wrist. And it just feels lighter and lighter. Arm's feeling lighter and lighter. And now in that bucket in your left hand, I'm dumping a whole bunch of cement, wet cement. Oh, it's really heavy. It's kind of hard to hold the bucket now. And now I'm tying a really big bunch of beautiful helium balloons in your right arm. It's lifting up your arm higher and higher, lighter and lighter. And I want you to freeze. Open your eyes. Look around. So all of you had a little bit of a difference, right, between the arms. It's just to, it just shows the power of your mind. You're just playing along with it.
So I could feel it.
You could feel it a
I
little
could
bit.
feel it.
Yeah, because your brain remembers
Yeah.
what it feels like to hold something heavy, and your brain remembers what it feels like to hold a balloon. Isn't that cool? So that tells me that even if you don't think you can be hypnotized, you can do it. Because if you can play along with these games, this is going to be a piece of cake for you. So now let's talk about some things that hypnosis can help with. So we talked about habits. It's great for habits. Smoking, weight, nail biting. Medical hypnosis, pain management. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. A lot of pain is because of the brain's perception. And I don't know if you've ever heard of phantom limb pain. You ever heard of that? So somebody can be hiking maybe and they get their leg caught in something, and unfortunately they have to have their leg amputated. And the brain still holds on to the memory of what that pain felt like when that leg was being crushed, even though that limb is not there anymore. And it's all here, isn't it? So the brain can change the perception of pain. We can actually turn the dial down with chronic pain so that you can tolerate pain better. It also works really well with things like IBS and fibromyalgia, believe it or not. Hypertension, headaches, insomnia.
Hypnotherapy works with IBS?
Yes. Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had training in that, and believe it or not, it works. It's usually a 6-session protocol.
It's
What's
a session.
IBS?
Six
Oh,
sessions.
six.
6 sessions.
Here's a big one.
Yep. And because there's the mind-body connection,
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
and stress aggravates it, and so reducing the anxiety and telling the body that it's working properly, it just works. I've had really good success with it. Emotional issues, hypnotherapy can be beneficial for depression, anxiety, fears and phobias, panic attacks, the things that Stephanie was talking about. Oftentimes they use a combination of the EMDR with the hypnotherapy. Also for self-improvement, memory issues. It's not going to cure somebody who's getting dementia, but it can sharpen the memory, can help with study habits and test taking, sales skills, sports, golf, fitness. So there are a lot of therapeutic uses for it as well as fun. So I just wanted to address what you had said before about how you did the stage show and you couldn't be hypnotized. So I just want to explain a little bit the difference between stage hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So with stage hypnosis, the hypnotist's job is to get people up on stage to act silly so that the audience can have fun, right? He wants to get the show going. So what he does on purpose is he asks for volunteers. So first of all, only the people who want to give this a go are going to raise their hand. People who are shy aren't raising their hand, or people like me who are very hypnotizable know better than to raise their hand. So people who are willing participants raising their hand, and then he plays some games with them, and then he cuts, and he'll send some people back to the audience, like you. And then he keeps the people who follow along with the directions quickly and seem to be able to do it very fast. That does not mean that the people who get sent back to the audience can't be hypnotized. It means that maybe they can't be hypnotized quickly with a whole bunch of people staring at them. So when people are in my office, it's a whole different thing. It's very relaxing. Nobody's staring at you. Nobody's going to be laughing at you. So it's a whole different thing. So even though you weren't selected to be a participant in that show, I'm sure you probably could do hypnotherapy if you wanted to. So does anybody have any questions about hypnosis or hypnotherapy? Yes.
When can we send our sales team?
Oh!
I heard that it can help with sales.
It can. Yeah. Maybe we can talk to you guys about that. That might be fun.
That would be fun to try.
TraVek, taking on the world.
Yay, go guys.
What's your secret? I'll
Ooh.
never tell.
And you've got software that tracks sales, so we could see the before and after,
Yeah,
right?
right, exactly.
That would be cool.
Exactly, yeah.
So what do you guys charge? What do sessions cost normally?
So the initial intake session is $270, and then after that, you can decide with your therapist if you want to continue to do 80-minute sessions, which can be beneficial, especially if you're going to be starting to do some EMDR, or if you want to do a 50-minute session, and those are $170.
Do you take insurance?
We don't take insurance, and one of the reasons for that is because it keeps everything confidential. So, you never have to worry about anything being in your medical records that you don't want somebody else to see, and it keeps things simple.
Much better.
Now we can do, if you'd like, we can do a super bill for you that you can submit to your insurance, and many people do get reimbursed, but we're not going to be doing the billing ourselves. Yes,
So it can help with anxiety,
absolutely.
and how?
It helps your brain to look at things from a different perspective. So, like in hypnotherapy with anxiety, I do a lot of storytelling, and I might tell a story about, how when you throw a rock in a lake and the lake becomes disturbed, and so what the lake is reflecting is distorted. But then when the rock sinks to the bottom, it all becomes clear again. So you help your brain to see that I'm just distorting how I'm looking at this, which is very similar to what the EMDR does also. It takes those distorted thoughts that you have and helps you to see things in perspective, because a lot of anxiety is thinking about things in a way that is a little bit out of touch with the reality. So making things worse than they really are, making mountains out of molehills. You know, like it would be like me thinking about giving this talk tonight. A distorted thought might be, you know, I'm gonna, you know, have people laugh at me and make fun of me. Of course, I wasn't really having that thought, but, you know, in the hypnotherapy, it would be, you know, of course people aren't gonna laugh at me. You know, that's just, you know, something I'm remembering from childhood, you know, when I was in class and the kids are making fun of me, but I'm an adult now, and of course nobody's gonna laugh at me. So when we do the hypnotherapy, it just helps you to really feel that at a deeper level, because you can tell yourself that consciously, but you may not believe it. So with the hypnotherapy, we're letting that wall down so you can really believe that at a deeper level.
So then do you use that in conjunction with that EDMR or
The EMDR.
EMDR? And which one do you do first? And
Well, I guess it depends on people's comfort level. A lot of people come in specifically for the EMDR, so we do the EMDR. Some people come in specifically for the hypnotherapy, so we start with that. Sometimes I might give people a break from the EMDR because it can be very intense. We might do a few sessions of the EMDR, and then they might say, it's kind of a lot. And so we might take a break and do a little hypnotherapy, and it's very relaxing, and then we might go back to the EMDR. A lot of it depends on what the issue is. So, like for the medical issues, I may start with the hypnotherapy on that. If it's anxiety, I might start with the EMDR. For habits, I usually go to the hypnotherapy first.
That EMDR was really cool, the way you had explained it, kind of like
Yeah.
a train ride. Where you bring them through it. Maybe you could tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what we tell our clients is that when you're reprocessing, doing the EMDR, and you're holding the tappers or the headphones or both, that you're thinking about that memory as if you're on a train with me, and you're watching this memory through a window, and it's just going by. So you've got one foot over there, but you're here, and you're just remembering it, and you can watch them go by, and it reprocesses it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Any other questions, or about the EMDR?
Oh, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, very interesting.
interesting.
Yeah.
I did the hypnotherapy for insomnia. That was really cool.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Did it help you?
Yeah, it
Obviously
did.
it must have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of hypnotherapy for insomnia is the anxiety, because a lot of people have trouble sleeping at night because that's when everything stops, and then the mind starts racing, and the thoughts are coming in about all the things you have to do, the things you're worrying about. So if you can calm down those thoughts, then you can sleep better.
Mm-hmm.
if I stay up too late, then I have a hard time getting to sleep. If I go to bed normal time, and then my mind can quiet down.
Yeah.
My mind's racing all the time. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Interesting.
All of our minds are racing all the time.
Yeah. Life's
About
busy.
Learning how to.
How about recurring nightmares?
Slow down.
Yep.
So, yes, EMDR can help with that.
With what?
And
Recurring nightmares.
EMDR can help with that, and hypnotherapy can help with that, because that might be rooted in a trauma.
It is trauma.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a lot of really good questions that people have previously asked on the website, which is on the little mailer on the front of that handout. If you do have any further questions, you can check out the FAQs. We have a pretty extensive website, so it gives a lot of information on there. We might answer some questions, or you can always feel free to call us as well. We try to get back to people the same day. Try. Might be a little late, but we try.
So how does that specifically help for weight loss? It's teaching or retraining your subconscious mind?
So a lot of overeating is because of old programming. So it might be, you know, being raised to clean your plate and not waste food, being given treats when you're not feeling good or as a reward. So the brain thinks, you know,
Right.
if I'm not feeling good or I've done a good job, then I need a reward. It also can be because we never get taught coping skills growing up, and so we all develop our own ways to cope with our feelings. So if nobody taught us what to do when we have these feelings, then we're going to try to find something that makes us feel better. And food is the easiest thing to make ourselves feel better. So that's what a lot of people do, because they start to have some anxiety or discomfort, and then they reach for something and they eat it, and they're distracted from whatever that feeling is. And so that gets reinforced. Even though it's causing a problem, you keep on doing it because the brain remembers that positive reinforcement. And so you can teach yourself to remember what the consequences are of that behavior rather than what the immediate gratification is.